So over the last week, I made a community poll asking my audience if they saw Netflix's newest series Haunted Hotel made by Matt Roller, who's best known for writing/story editing for Adult Swim's Rick and Morty. This show has been on my radar since I saw some announcement around it on Twitter, so it wasn't that much of a surprise when I did and never really saw it. Long-time viewers already know that I'm a big Rick and Morty fan, so I'll try my best to support any product associated with Rick and Morty. I like Justin Roiland's Solar Opposites. I tried reading the webcomic and even got into the Rick and Morty anime. Haunted House, like I said, is a fairly new show on Netflix. Honestly, on my first watch of it, I thought it was pretty generic and mundane compared to other shows like Solar Opposite and Rick and Morty, but after giving it more of a chance, I actually end up really enjoying the series for what it had to offer, the characters, the setting, and the overall story. Originally, this video was going to be a season 1 breakdown mainly because I was convinced that this show wasn't getting a second season. First off, I was wrong. Season 2 was literally confirmed as the writing of this script. The reason I was convinced that this show wasn't getting a season 2 because I saw little to no advertisement around it. And another thing, I've seen nobody literally talk about it here on YouTube. Whether it's from big or smaller creator, it seems like this show went under everybody's radar. I'm happy to see that this show is getting a season 2 because I really think this show has the potential to be one of the best Netflix shows around. Similar to Rick and Morty and Solar Opposite, the show strikes between a balance between fun, wacky, and random adventures, and deeper lore surrounding the characters in the world they're living. Unlike Rick and Morty, which feels like it's going to be one of those forever shows, a show that is going to keep on going with the intention of never wrapping up any meaningful overarching story, it seems like Solar Opposites and Haunted Hotel won't have this problem, because Solar Opposites is actually wrapping up with their final season, and I don't think this show would get past like 3 or 5 seasons at best. So the fear of Haunted Hotel overstaying their welcome just doesn't exist. But in this video, I'm not here to break down the events of season 1 or list everything I liked about the show. What I really want to talk about is one of the main protagonists, Nathan, because honestly, we need to talk about him. Nathan is Catherine's older brother and the previous owner of the Haunted Hotel, where most of the series takes place. Now you might be wondering, if he's here, why am I calling him the previous owner? Well, that's because Nathan is dead. Early on in the first very episode, the series cleverly revealed that Nathan is actually a ghost. It's a moment that really makes you stop and do a double take. The way the show introduces each main character really makes you assume that Nathan is just a normal guy, until he casually walks through a wall. That's the moment when it clicks. From there, the series established that ghosts, demons, and all kinds of monsters exist within this world, and the hotel seems to be this beacon or maybe the central hub for all paranormal activities in this universe. In fact, it's even rumored that this hotel might be one of the 6 gates to hell. So at this point, we get a mix of Gravity Falls and Rick and Morty vibes, which I totally love. But what really stood out to me is how Haunted Hotel portrays their paranormal anomalies. Unlike other shows that use similar concepts, this one establishes this kind of rock, paper, scissors dynamic between ghosts, humans, and demons. A ghost can be a demon can be a human, and a human can be a ghost. Now that might sound confusing at first, so let me break it down. In this series, ghosts pose no real harm to a human beyond scaring them. They can't even possess people. Once you get over the fact that they're real, they're more of an annoyance than a real threat. On top of that, some humans have a stronger spiritual connection which allows them to manipulate these spirits. For example, Jasmeralda is a ghost exorcist and has shown to have the power to somewhat have control over these ghosts, banishing them away. Then there's Ben, who is confirmed to be a soul conduit. What exactly does that mean? We don't fully know yet. What we do know is that he has some kind of innate spiritual connection that can be tapped into. If I had to put it in simpler terms, he's basically a mix between Aang from Avatar and Danny from Danny Phantom, and essentially a human acting as a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. So you might be wondering, what does all of this have to do with Nathan? A lot, since he's a ghost. It's important to understand the supernatural rules the series lays out. One more key detail is that it's possible and fairly common for a ghost to lose their meaning to exist. Basically, every ghost we see in the series is tethered to the mortal realm in some unique way. Once that tether is weakened, they start to fade away. Fading away in the sense that they start falling beneath the ground. It's obvious that the rules for the ghosts are completely different from those for humans. A ghost can go through walls, are immune to physical harm, and they don't interact with the physical world the same way living beings do. But when a ghost starts to lose their meaning to exist, it's basically sort of a midlife crisis. Even after death, they can still lose their grip on the plane they exist on. What happens exactly if this doesn't get fixed is that they will begin to sink until they reach the Earth's core, a place where it countless other ghosts are trapped in. This loss of meaning to exist becomes an actual plot point for Nathan later on in the series. He realized that the anchor in his afterlife, the thing that keeps him tethered to the mortal realm, is the family's weekly spaghetti nights. Keep in mind, as a ghost, he cannot eat, and as he was growing up, he doesn't even like eating spaghetti. But it was the fraternal bond of family that he associates spaghetti nights with. That's what gives his existence meaning. It's clear that Nathan is a family man through and through. He loves his sister, Catherine. He adores his niece and nephew, Ben and Esther. He even grows a fond for Abaddon, a 1,000-year-old demon bound to a body of a boy from the 1700s whom the family more or less adopt as an honorary member. Beyond his family ties, Nathan presents himself as a very openly optimistic person, always looking at the bright side of things, and never really tries to let anything get to him, at least on the surface. Sure, there are some moments of that facade slipping, like an episode when their Aunt Rose came to visit a family member that Nathan clearly doesn't like. But even then, the character of Aunt Rose is to portray the fact that she is not supposed to be likable by any of the family members. So you can really write this off as a added character moment for Nathan. Nathan, as I mentioned, is a happy-go-lucky guy. He's the cool uncle who cracks jokes, always trying to keep a smile. And he has this infectious personality that brightens up any room he's in. But another thing I noticed that Nathan tends to be emotionally dependent on others, always trying to help out, being involved with the rest of the family. Joining in on their wacky adventures, helping out the best way he can, and he likes the thought of him feeling useful. And that was something I picked up on my second rewatch of the series. So if you haven't watched the show, you might be wondering, since he's a ghost, how did he die? In episode 9, Catherine revealed that Nathan actually killed himself. Though the reason remains unknown, some ghosts like Nathan don't fully remember how they died. Catherine had told him that he simply choked on some few grapes while watching TV. This reveal caught me off guard because all the clues were there all along. When Nathan finally learns the truth, we see this look of dreadfulness on his face, as we can only assume that more of his repressed memories begin to resurface. He understandably presses Catherine on why she never told him. She explains that she just assumed that he already knew, and when she realized he didn't, she didn't want to upset him over one bad day. Nathan then responds, making it clear that it wasn't just one bad day, he had many. When I say the clues pointing to Nathan's suicide was right in your face, I mean it. On my rewatch, I noticed a few subtle hints. For example, a ghost will look like how they die. If someone was shot in the head, guess what? They have a bullet hole now. If he was killed by a hatchet, the hatchet remains embedded into their skull. In Nathan's case, I noticed his bags under his eyes. I interpret them as a sign of sleepiness or stress, possibly linked to his struggles with his mental health, hinting at his depression. And him being depressed isn't just speculation. In episode 6 Ghost Hunter, when the family goes through his emails, we see they had an expired prescription for Lexapro, a drug commonly used to treat depression. Looking at the rest of his emails, it seems that he was running out of his medication, and that could have been the main cause for Nathan to take his own life. There's also another detail I want to talk about. We see some emails about some scissors Nathan could have bought. I believe he was getting emails over these scissors because he bought said scissors to slit his own wrist. This fits the soul's patterns that ghosts often reflects the way they die. Nathan's ghost is always seen wearing a long sleeve shirt, which makes sense since his death happened around fall during barbecue season, and shortly after we see a few Christmas related emails. So it would have been cold, but the past photos and flashbacks shows that Nathan seems to always wear these long sleeve shirts. Keep in mind, the show does take place in New York, a notoriously cold place. So there are other reasons for his clothing choice, but I'm willing to go a bit further and suggest that the reason Nathan doesn't show clear signs of bodily harm is because he lightly covered his wrist with his sleeves. This would make sense as it's a common occurrence among people who do struggle with self-harm to cover their wounds. I could be wrong, but how Nathan took his life seems like it will be another plot point the series is setting up to. Another important aspect is the portrayal of his mental health struggles. There's a common misconception that people with depression are always openly sad and easy to recognize. That's not true. Many master their trauma and coping in ways that makes it hard for others to see their pain. We see this with Nathan. Despite his cheerful and optimistic exterior, his struggles were real, and Catherine even blamed herself for his suicide, thinking she wasn't there when he needed her. Another thing to note that Nathan may have a gambling problem. It was referenced that he borrowed money from Catherine for horse betting, and the whole reason reason he ended up having the hotel because he won it through a card game. This potentially adds another layer to his character, showing that he has complexities and flaws beyond what's immediately visible. There is one last thing I haven't mentioned. Early in the series, it's revealed that every ghost has the ability to pass on if their unfinished business, essentially an unresolved hope and dreams that keep them tethered to the mortal plane, gets accomplished. Where do they go when they pass on? We actually don't know. The ghost themselves seems unaware of their destination, though it's implied they may be sent to either heaven or hell. I bring this up because I believe the way Nathan committed suicide will tie into this plot point as well. It seems the series is moving towards exploring what Nathan's unfinished business is. Nathan even claims that Catherine has a tendency to not let things go, a trait symbolized by why she remains at the hotel in the first place. She's there to hold on to the last remaining impact her brother had on the world, and once she discovers that he's technically still active in some way, she stays even longer simply to spend time with him. I think Nathan's unfinished business could be either two things. One could be the fact that for most of his life he was always considered to be a failure, and he wants to leave something with actual significant impact. He essentially just wants to succeed. And second, it's possible that Nathan understands inherently that his sister's too dependent on him, and once he finds out or realizes that his sister can go on without him, that will be more than enough for him to pass on, knowing that his sister will always be in good hands. And I feel like it's important to note that in the last episode of season 1, Nathan actually revealed to the audience that he was actually a member of 12 different cults, and went on to explain that these cults were always targeted weak mind individuals. And this is a clearly blatant self-report, because like in real life, cults do in fact targeted weak mind individuals to lure them in with their lies just to exploit them. It seems like Nathan is a character with a lot of baggage that is yet to be uncovered, and I can't wait for the series to explore more of his character. This show is an absolute banger that really deserves more attention. There's so many clever setups and threads that the series can explode upon if this show gets more seasons that are greenlit by Netflix. The cast is full of diverse, complex, compelling characters, and I truly believe this series has potential to become one of Netflix's most popular shows, even rivaling that of BoJack Horseman. All we need is for people to give this show a chance. I literally bought a Netflix subscription just to watch this show, and I don't regret it. Supporting a show you want to see is the #1 way to get these companies to give them the spotlight they deserve. And even if you don't have Netflix, watching it or even talking about these shows on any platform is another great way to show support. Until next time, I'm your host Taken, and we do a little reviewing around here. Peace out.